So, Glenn, first to you. What did you make of Scott Parker leaving?
What did I make of Scott Parker leaving? I think that he was doing a good job. I think when you look at the fixtures that they'd played and taking in consideration the draw midweek, 4 points out of the first 5 games is good, especially when you've faced Liverpool, City and Arsenal. Yeah. So I think on the field, they would have been relatively happy. I think it's Scott's comments and maybe slight negativity in the press conferences. And listen, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Managers are constantly asking for more players, better players. He was doing that publicly. And obviously the owner just had enough and thought it was the best thing was to part company.
There was another comment he made where he said there are more routes to come. So clearly he wanted the board to back him that much more than Farah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's a sacking based, as Glenn said, based off of the fixtures and the results, because they've had a tough opening. They got a great result against Villa in the opening game. They wasn't expected to win the next 3, and now they can go on a run where they could have picked up points. I think it's more that he's come out publicly and criticised the board in not investing. And they're not a team that, I agree with Scott Parker, I don't think they're a team that are equipped to stay in this Premier League. And I think as a manager that's ambitious like Scott Parker is, a young manager, he wants to come up and stay and give a good account of himself and the team. And those players that are there, the squad of players that are there, I don't believe are good enough to keep them up.
Okay, so given that then, how appealing is this job? Because there are some big names in it. There are also some other names that perhaps you wouldn't expect to see in a list, but Chris Wilder and Sean Dyche jump out at you.
I'm not sure it's that appealing. I was thinking Sean Dyche might be a good fit in terms of he's been at Burnley before, where they didn't have you know the board that backed him in terms of bringing players in and spending big, so he could manage that group of players. But myself and Glenn were talking before, and are that group of players type of players that are there for the fight, that are tough players? I don't think they are. They're players that have come up through the Championship, ball playing players, rather than players that are going to play with a bit of fight and aggression.
Yeah, that's a good point, though, isn't it, Glenn?
Yeah, it is. Do you know what? I quite like the man looking after them at the moment. They obviously don't want to spend much money. It gives him his opportunity in the Premier League. He knows the philosophy, he knows the group, he knows their strengths and weaknesses. It sort of works for me, Gary O'Neill.
Let's talk about Forest, because they've signed 21 players in this window. That's a British record, spending over £140 million. And Guy makes a brilliant point there about making sure that the likes of Jesse Lingard and those experienced players, they've gone to the City Ground to play football. He's got to get that man management right, Farah.
I think he does, and I think, Steve Cooper, he's been an international coach. And I know when you're an international coach and there's a turnover of players every single season, and how you manage those players, I think he's pretty fitted for that. I think he's, in terms of his philosophy, he knows what he wants. In terms of being able to adapt tactics, he's had that experience before to be able to do it. And being an international coach, you have to get a group of players to understand tactics in a short space of time. Bringing all these players in, I think Steve Cooper's well equipped for that, well equipped for giving these players the tactics. He's had a tough start in terms of fixtures. I think the next 6 fixtures are important to see where he's at and where this group of players are at.
Yeah, he's very good at that man management as well. Farah, thank you very much. Love to hear from you this afternoon. Do get in touch. Use the hashtag BBC Football. Join the conversation with us here on the programme.